This has been my season of stepping into the suddenly. There are seasons where life feels governed by logic and timelines. I look at my present circumstances and I start doing the math. How long will this take? How many years will it require? How far away is this dream really? We're taught as children to dream big, and then we're slowly trained to be a little more realistic, to look at our current life and decide from there how far we're allowed to dream, to let the circumstances of our lives dictate the capacity of what we can accomplish. But we forget. We forget that God does not require time the way humans do. We forget that circumstances do not restrict what He can do. We forget that a word that appears again and again and again through Scripture is a part of our destiny. Suddenly. The Bible is filled with moments where God has shifted lives, identities, and futures in an instant. Not gradually, not logically, but divinely. Here are some of the biblical suddenly moments. Suddenly, Joseph went from a prison cell to the second in command over all of Egypt. One day imprisoned, the next day entrusted with authority over a nation. You can find that in Genesis 41. Suddenly, Esther went from being an orphan with no parents or protection to the queen of Persia, positioned by not lineage, but by purpose. You can find this in Esther 2. Suddenly, David went from an overlooked shepherd to being anointed as a king. Not invited to a meeting, not considered as a contender, he was chosen. 1 Samuel 16. Suddenly, Saul encountered Jesus on the road, and he became Paul. From persecutor of believers to an apostle of the gospel, a life redirected in one moment. Acts 9. Suddenly, Peter went from denying Jesus in fear to boldly preaching, and 3,000 lives were transformed in a single day. Suddenly, in Acts 2. Suddenly, the Israelites went from 400 years of slavery to freedom overnight. And they didn't leave empty-handed. They left with provision. Exodus 12. Suddenly, the Red Sea parted. What looked like a dead end became a pathway. Exodus 14. Suddenly, a man crippled for 38 years stood up and walked at the word of Jesus. John 5. These were not slow improvements. They were not trajectory shifts. And when I feel buried, when debt feels overwhelming, when the doors seem to close, jobs seem to fire me, and I'm empty-handed yet again, when my current reality tells me I'm behind, delayed, or disqualified, I remind myself, being buried does not mean being defeated. Seeds are buried too. So I choose to return to truth instead of seeing fear. And we know that God causes everything to work together for good for those who love the Lord and are called according to His purpose for them. Romans 8:28. This verse doesn't say that everything feels good all the time and everything's perfect and we're all happy. It says everything is being worked together for good for those who love the Lord. A lot like an affirmation I say every day. Everything is always working out for me because I love the Lord. Together implies orchestration, movement behind the scenes, timing I don't need to control. So I choose alignment over anxiety. Everything is always working out for me. I am aligned with opportunities that are for my highest and greatest good. I am always in the right place at the right time. Opportunities for wealth and abundance flow to me with ease. And I sit with this truth. And I say this truth to myself every day during hard times and during the good times, because something shifts in me. Suddenly, my fears retreat. Suddenly, my faith is restored. Suddenly, my peace comes back into balance. Suddenly, I feel open, receptive. I'm ready to receive. I'm not chasing. I'm not forcing. I'm not striving. I'm not begging. I'm simply just walking forward with quiet confidence because I know who walks with me. Because I know that with God, there's no time restrictions. There are no circumstance restrictions. There is no limit to how quickly my life can change. I may not know the moment, but I do know the pattern of God's love, of God's suddenly, of God's provision. And I trust the God of suddenly.